IVM.
Hi, everybody. On behalf of the team at IVM Podcast, I have a request for you. We'd really appreciate it if you could go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and fill out our survey over there. It's going to take a few minutes to do, but it gives us some really interesting information that we can take to advertisers and brands about who's listening to the network. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, while you're filling out the survey, we'll enter you into a random drawing where we'll be sending out a bunch of IVM swag to some of our listeners. Last year we sent out coffee mugs, and this year we're hoping to send out much cooler stuff. That's ivmpodcast.com/survey. We really appreciate your help.
Hi, I'm Zarina Poonawalla, your peak performance coach, life coach, emotional intelligence practitioner, and NLP practitioner. I'm also the founder of Abzo Expertise Unique, and my organization constantly aims at building leaders across continents. After having worked with so many dynamic business honchos, entrepreneurs, startups, CEOs, management gurus, parents, and student communities worldwide, I am convinced that every individual has unleashed potential, and all we really need to do is realize it. Watch the magic unfold, enhance quality of life, relationships, and professions. On my show, be ready for some riveting conversations with inspirational people, snippets, stories, and much more. So here I am on this exceptional journey to find empowerment and inspiration anywhere I can. Come join me on this breathtaking path of self-realization, potential maximization, positivity, and most of all, embrace your inner power. You are on your way to empowering yourselves. Welcome to the Empowering Series with Zarina Poonawalla. On today's episode, I'm in conversation with an immaculate strategist armed with an impeccable ability to demonstrate his experience in leadership and innovation. All the way from New York, please welcome Shashank Singh, CEO and founder of FLYX. Hey Shashank, how are you doing?
Hey Zarina, glad to be here.
Glad to have you on the show. I'm really happy that you've made time this morning for you actually to be able to have this conversation. That's really kind of you. So how have you been through the lockdown?
It has been pretty amazing, actually. I mean, of course, the world is in a very strange situation, and for us, it's just like sun is shining, make the hay when sun is shining. So that's what we did with FLYX.
Oh, you did. Okay, so you can tell us a lot about that. But tell me in general, this year has been quite the roller coaster for everybody in general, all over the world. And we've literally come to the end of the year, Shashank. So how has the year been treating you overall, personally, professionally, both?
Very, very strange year, actually. I had this idea about FLYX, and I was also working on in a startup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when the pandemic happened, that's when we decided actually this is the right time to actually jump into the entrepreneurship side and focus full time on my idea. And a lot of people actually were kind of like, are you crazy? This is the pandemic situation where you really want to actually keep your job and stabilize stuff because nobody knew what's going to happen. And in my opinion, I said, and this is the best time actually to become an entrepreneur because when everyone is at home, you have more time at your hand. So why not focus on something you really love? So that's what I did. And so far has been really great. And I'm pretty excited about it.
Fantastic. Shashank, so obviously you have shown some amount of grit and, gone against the tide, made things happen. Is there anything you've discovered about yourself during, especially this year?
What I have discovered is actually like I always had certain ideas like how I want to build a company.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, with FLYX, like it was a bootstrap and I raised some capital from friends and family. But I'm actually able to build the team around the whole idea. And I have grown from 4 of our founders to 15% team right now. And what binds us together is the mission and is the resolve to that we want to solve this problem, what we are working on.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to actually build the team without much capital. So that's amazing for me. Like I thought it's probably people don't care about missions and people will always look at like how much I'm getting paid and everything.
Right.
But I was able to quickly create a team and go up to 15% company. That's very exciting for me, and that's very, very eye-opening for me that you can still build a team. Like once you start actually putting the word out there, there are people who started asking me how can I help, and there were people who I knew before, and there were some even people who I never met actually,
Right.
and they reach out to me on LinkedIn, they reach out to me on other social media stuff, and we had some conversation, and I was really amazed by the whole stuff there.
That's fantastic. You know, it's not surprising that you've managed to handle those 15 people and you're growing your business so, let's say, consistently and quickly at the same time, because I reckon you have over 2 decades of very rich experience in software and product development. Isn't that right?
That's
So,
correct.
naturally, I think, Shashank, that has a role to play in this particular situation for you. And also the fact that you have your establishment in New York, which seems like a dream for most people. Yeah. So, tell us about how you embarked upon this journey and from India to New York and probably worked with a couple of places and then being your own boss and creating something so innovative.
Sure. I can give you 20 years has been a long time, so, but I can still try to summarize that in like the next couple of minutes.
Oh, take your
So,
time. Take your time. We're in no rush. We listen
so
patiently.
okay, cool.
Hmm.
So I started my career in India. I did undergrad in computer science and engineering from college in UP, Gorakhpur, a government institution, and I was graduated in 2002 and worked in Infosys for a couple of years in Bangalore. And in 2004, I decided to move to US. So there was a small consultancy company which actually was interested in hiring me. And
Hmm.
so I joined a small company in US. It was probably around 50% company, but they were a small boutique consulting. And I had a dream of actually, I want to work for some big financial company in New York.
Hmm.
And that's what made me move that I had never thought that I would be actually going to US initially, but when this opportunity came over, then I thought like why not? Like New York is like the mecca of finance world, and I want to be there.
Right.
And so I came to US in 2004, late 2004. Started working for Bank of New York Mellon.
Hmm.
Was there for a year. Then worked for another bank called Brown Brothers Harriman, which is one of the oldest bank in US. And ultimately, I wanted to really work for a company called Goldman Sachs.
Okay.
So I tried Goldman Sachs when I came to US, but I couldn't get into that bank.
Hmm.
But finally, I had the opportunity when the recession was happening 2009. I joined Goldman Sachs, and that was something like a dream come true that I want to work for Goldman, and this is finally I'm here,
Right.
and felt like I have arrived in New York now. and
That's nice.
Yeah, and while I was in Goldman, there was something like something was missing there. Like, and I said, okay, I want to now focus on a little bit on the business side. So I joined NYU, New York University,
Hmm.
my MBA from Stern Business School. So I did my MBA there as a part time. So while I was working in Goldman, I was also doing my MBA, and that's when my entrepreneurial bug started. That I want to do something on my own,
Right.
and to get the experience on that, like I started something on the side. I also an app called Magical, which was collecting all the events around going around your location. So you open the app, and that time iPhone was new, iOS the whole system was new, and I wanted to actually have some experience there. So I started something on the side while I was actually doing my full time job at Goldman,
Hmm.
studying part time at NYU, and I started this company called Magical. I did pretty good. Was able to get some people around, 5 to 6 people around that company, and we built the product. We launched it, got a good reception initially,
Hmm.
and then what happened was most of the founders actually went busy in their personal life, and it became like nobody was paying attention to it. Then I decided, okay, I will go and join a startup. So I joined a startup called Flurry. Flurry was the mobile. It was a mobile analytics company. It was world's first mobile analytics company, and the majority, I would say, almost 80 to 90% of the app out in the world was using Flurry SDK in their apps, and we were getting a huge amount of data about how people are using app, what they are doing inside the app, and everything. So we were getting petabytes of data almost every day, and that was a great experience because that was the first time I was working for a pure technology company, and saw how a startup goes from from an idea to executing something, and how quickly you take on the market, and you can actually really expand and kind of dominate the market despite being a small company.
Right.
So with the success of Flurry, Yahoo actually acquired Flurry. So I was in Yahoo for a few years. And then from Yahoo, I moved on to a company called Publicis, where I was building their data management platform. I focus a lot on big data side of things, like how to create an ad tech and manage the data of users.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so you can blame me for a lot of ads you see that I have put. I have some kind of input there. So yeah, I mean, since then I joined another startup called Datamarks, where I was a kind of founding CTO and built the team from. I was one of the first engineers to be there, and then from there I've built almost like 15 to 20 people in that company. I mean, just before the pandemic, I decided to quit on that and pursue my dreams. So this is where I am right now.
So right now you're living your dream, basically.
Yeah, I'm living my dream.
But I've got to say that's quite a well-rounded and holistic sort of experience because, when you're looking at somebody who's gone from India, taking up a job in the US, usually, I'm talking from the experience I have about friends and family and clients around. And the one thing that I've noticed is you find a company, you stick to it, usually. So very few people have that kind of fire, I don't know, fire in their belly, the kind you possibly have, Shashank, where you are like out there. You've worked with the best of the organizations and some great MNCs, startups, and then you've kind of summed up all of that and used it for your own, baby project, your home
Yeah,
project,
yeah,
right?
yeah. And those experiences has actually made what I am right now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I've seen the best of the companies and then the worst of the companies. Like every company has its own strength and I would not say weaknesses, but there's something which I personally didn't like in most of the companies.
Sure.
And that's what my experience is there, and that's what I'm trying to do with the company. That I'm going to take advantage of all those strengths and probably fix those weaknesses I saw in those larger companies, which are doing pretty good actually.
Mm-hmm.
But there was something missing there. That's why I was not there actually. Like I had to move on because somehow I always felt constrained in larger companies.
Okay.
I would come up with the ideas and uh, like they would actually on the idea side they would actually be everything is working fine. There's no need to disrupt
Mm-hmm.
because everything's working fine. Actually, they are making enough money, so why to actually go on some radical ideas? So most of the time, I'll see resistance from middle management or even top management. That
Right.
if things are working fine, there's no need to actually change everything. And I would be like, okay, I mean, you need to adopt to the latest and greatest in technology. And I see the ideas I planted there, they're working on that now. Like after 5 or 6 years, I have left the company, and because still in touch with some of the colleagues, and they say like, okay, I mean, you said it before, they didn't do that. Now we are working on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're in that position, the famous cliched position that I told you so to a lot of people at this point in time, because I believe you possibly have a little bit of disruptive leadership in you and you like transformation. That's what I'm understanding from the kind of leadership qualities. You're thinking far ahead than your time. And maybe these companies, the MNCs in general, usually have the mindset of, you don't need to fix what's not broke. So you just keep going on and you stay in your comfort zone, sort of a thing, right?
Exactly. That's what I hate actually. Like I've told my all my friends also and colleagues, like I kind of mentor a few of them, and I always say that day you become comfortable in a company, that's when something is going wrong for you.
Hmm.
Because if you're too comfortable there, that means you're not learning too many things there. Why? Because you know everything then. That's where you build a comfort zone around you, uh, and you won't believe like how quickly the time flies. Like we are talking 20 years of my career,
Mm-hmm.
and I still feel like that I have just started my career. And
Right.
because this 20 years just flew, actually, I had no idea like when when I'm into this professional life of 20 years. So I
True.
just advise all my friends and people that time will fly. Don't get in a comfort zone because 5 years from now, 4 years from now, or even 6 years from now, the technology moves so fast
Mm-hmm.
that you will feel completely outdated.
That's
And
absolutely true.
yeah, so I mean, that's where I always do. If you don't have enough opportunity in the company, either you switch the company. If you love the company, that's fine. You don't need to switch. Then why don't you start something on the side? Follow some kind of passion. I have created like 3 startups on the side. Like I talked about Magical, there was another app called Steams, which was anonymous app.
Mm-hmm.
There was another app called Truffle, which I collaborated with a few people and launched it, which did pretty well. And those were all like my side projects actually. So why? Because I was not getting something fulfilled in my full-time job. So I would weeknights and weekends I will make something,
True.
and that's how I was always up to the technology. Wanted to see latest and greatest in it. So why not just try it? The technology is so cheap right now. You don't have to spend too much money on that,
Mm-hmm.
and go build something. Even if it's a talk to somebody, they say it's a bad idea. It doesn't matter. Actually, just go and build it.
One of the things that I realized while you were saying the things that you just said, Shashank, is time flew for you because you didn't succumb to monotony. See, most people who are in their comfort zones, they'll end up succumbing to monotony, right? I mean, then you think time is so stretched because every day seems like a mundane task. But for somebody like you who's made sure to use the time so wisely and stay out of your comfort zone and find your purpose all the time, I believe maybe that's one of the reasons why you look back and you're like, hey, my career's just started because I mean, I've just been using all my time doing so many things, right? That's quite exciting.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean that's the hunger actually which keeps me up and burn my midnight oil.
Hmm.
That like I still want to do a lot of things actually. There's so many things to be done actually, like especially in technology side of things. I mean every day you look at the news and you'll see like new kind of ideas coming out, new kind of technology coming out with artificial intelligence, with augmented reality. There's so many things you can do and you really want to do. And my I can't stop my brain from thinking about next big thing, what is going to happen, and I don't want to miss out on that. So I have a serious FOMO on that side. Like I don't want to miss out on those things.
That's fantastic. Now, you tell me, what does FLYX exactly do? And, how did this novel ideation happen to you? What's the inspiration behind it?
So yeah, I mean, like let me roll back, let's say 10 years from now or something. Uh, the options we had on the TV on the entertainment side was like we will switch on our TV. There will be a cable box which will have access to probably, depending on the place you are, 200 to 500 channels to browse around. That was your constraint. They were live channels,
Mm-hmm.
and within those 500, you will choose most likely based on your interest and things you like. You will have probably 10 or 15 or maybe even 20 channels you want to choose at that particular time. So let's say it's 9 o'clock in the evening, and between those 20 you will choose something and you'll just keep watching that. So there was not many options there, and it was kind of not bad to do that, because like when you have less choices it's much easier to make a decision.
Right.
And then fast forward to probably like 3 years from now or 4 years from now, like a lot of streaming options came in. Like I mean Netflix was always there from almost 10 years now. Then came Amazon Prime, and in India now you can see that there's so many streaming options there that
Right.
it has become, and most of the people are cutting cords. They are not subscribing to any cable channels anymore. Especially in US, a lot of people have cut cord because of the bandwidth, and the internet bandwidth is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I see that's happening in India also now.
I'm one of those people, just since we're having this conversation. I just last month, we just cut it off. We were like, this is pointless. So, yeah, I know what you mean.
Exactly. So yeah, I had subscription to quite a few streaming options.
Mm-hmm.
And every day, what will happen is like come back from office around 8 or 8:30 in the night. I will have a dinner plate in my hand and I will switch on the TV, because that was the only time I will get to watch something. And then I have some ideas I'm working on or doing something. So I will have half an hour to 1 hour to watch something. And so that half an hour to 1 hour, I would actually open Netflix, try to find something to watch.
Mm-hmm.
I will switch on to Amazon, I will switch on to Hulu, and I will switch on to now Disney Plus, and still struggle to find something to watch. And it was a very, very frustrating experience because I almost wasted every day 30 to 40 minutes for something to choose something to watch. And I will end up actually sending message to some of my friends that, uh, can you tell me what should I watch? I really need something to watch. And then they will give me back something and I will watch that and I will appreciate it. So that's when we decided, few of my friends, a couple of my friends, that do you think this is a good idea that we should actually build a platform on this? Because this is how I'm solving all the problems. Like we are asking friends and family to know about what they are watching, and that's how we decide what to watch. So we started doing some market research on this. Like, okay, seems like a good idea. Why not? Let's do some research. Whether this is just most of the founders generally have personal bias towards idea, and that's where they sometimes fail. That they think that's a big problem for the world, and I didn't want to start on something which is just my personal problem and not a big problem for the world. So we started doing some kind of research, started reaching out to a larger audience, that what generally you do, how do you discover movies or shows to watch, and also looking at the industry research, what has been done. So not surprisingly, I found this is actually a big problem and it's actually increasing every year. We saw some data, like I can quote on Nielsen comes out with their total audience report, and 2019 Q4 or Q3 report mentioned that 66% of our watching habits is actually influenced by friends and family.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, that's like 2/3 of your watching habit is actually influenced by friends and family, and that's a huge number.
Right.
And if you look at all the platforms out there, there's none, not even one single platform, which actually catered to that need, that 66% of my watching habit is influenced by friends and family. And it was the same case for me, that I was looking at my friends and family to discover something to watch. So I said, like, there is a big need for creating a social network around this, because there were some streaming aggregators which were telling you different kind of shows and where you can watch it, but no one was telling you. And there were some there which will do recommendation based on when you input some your taste, that this is the kind of movies or shows you like, and they will give you more movies like that. And that's almost like your in-house recommendation on Netflix or Amazon also. But all those things don't cater to that fact that 66% of my watching habit is because of friends and family. So, and people are genuinely interested in, like, oh, I need to know what my friends are watching, because that's where the social conversation happens around. If you go to a social gathering, if your friends and family, or even an office, either people are talking politics, which I think most of us are now really tired of.
Totally.
And the other part of the conversation is always about, have you watched the show? And especially, like, for example, like my last week was all about talking about Mirzapur 2. My colleague, like, Mirzapur 2 has come. Have you seen that? This is like, no, I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but that was amazing actually. And people were really excited about that conversation. So that's the goal of FLYX actually. We want people to come use FLYX as a platform where you not only discover great content based on what your friends and family are watching, but also talk about, have conversation about it, like have discussions about it, and one platform where it's fun to be. That's the kind of goal of FLYX.
It's quite an interesting idea, actually. I mean, this is something I didn't know, that so much of what we watch is influenced by friends and family. And now, when I'm thinking about it in retrospect, I realize that it's true, because the conversations you have, and if they're kind of around that area of, okay, what are you watching these days, that's become the new sort of small talk also, even when you're meeting people. When you're teaching small talk to companies or employees for their interpersonal skills, getting to know each other, one of the things you say are, talk about movies or the weather, etc. Avoid political conversation, avoid conversations about religion. But this is the new norm now. You discuss what's going on these channels, and what's going on what's streaming, basically, right? So this is quite interesting, actually, Shashank.
Yeah, even before, like I would say, like I started noticing this long back ago when Game of Thrones was new,
Right.
and in my office, and Game of Thrones was on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
and they didn't have a streaming channel that time. It was that you subscribe to HBO, and Sunday probably 9 or 10 in the night Eastern time. That's when Game of Thrones will come, one episode every week.
Right.
And Monday would be like a crazy day in office. Like half of the people will actually, who have not watched, they will probably work from home that day because they didn't want it to come to office because they haven't watched Game of Thrones.
Really? Oh my God.
I'm not making it up actually. This was the situation where, because
Wow.
in Monday people will talk about Game of Thrones and there will be a lot of spoilers there because
Right.
what Game of Thrones was. It's like all about
Oh yes.
shock. The shock value was great there. So if you know already, then it's not as good as to watch if you already know the plot or what happened in that episode.
Mm-hmm.
So people really actually will work from home, or they will actually go in a meeting room and lock their doors so that they don't hear the conversation around. So, and that show actually was the one which started in my mind that there's so much social conversation going around a particular show.
Right.
And that has gone with the OTT content, with the streaming content. If you have seen what I have seen, the difference between a regular TV show and OTT content is OTT contents have actually pushed the boundaries out there,
Yeah.
and it has broken a lot of barriers. And the innovation in the scripts is what makes OTT content actually much better than what we were used to watch on TV. And that's where you will see a lot more conversation around those OTT content. I mean, I'm not even talking about the English content. Let's talk about Hindi content, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the conversation around Mirzapur. You look at the conversation around Patal Lok. You look at the conversation around now. I've not watched it yet. The Harshad Mehta scam
Oh,
1992.
I
Like
just watched it. It's really nice. It's really good. Yeah.
exactly. So I mean, that's where I want to create a platform
Mm.
which is a central place where people can have these kind of discussions. Right now, there are discussions there. People are doing on WhatsApp, people are doing on Facebook, people are doing on Reddit, people are doing on various different fragmented way of doing things. You find your interest. Sometimes you don't even find the interest. But when you come on Flix, you will see all those things happening at one single place, and you can talk with your friends and family. There will be very soon we are launching a bit of forums there,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some really good, exciting features coming out in the next few months.
Sounds exciting. And to be honest, I think I'd love something like this, frankly. I mean, do you have this in India or around the world yet, or how does this work? How does one sort of subscribe to it?
Yeah, I mean, the Flix is available all around the world. We are focusing more on India and US market right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to Apple App Store or Google Play Store and you can download Flix. Our website is flix.me, so you can get the links from there. Or even if you Google FLYX, you'll see our links.
Good. Because, since you mentioned all these shows, I've watched all of them, obviously. And
Mhm.
like I mentioned, I'm also on those lines where I've cut off my connection with the cable connection. So I believe this conversation is something that people like me or people who are growing into that culture of watching shows and being very selective about what they're consuming, to be honest. You know the kind of genre you're interested in. It also gives you, from what I understand when you talk friends and family, Shashank, it also gives you an idea of a relatability with the people that you're discussing these things with, I'm guessing. To some level,
Yeah.
you kind of know whether you're on the same wavelength, and you kind of have conversation debatable about how much somebody liked Patal Lok and how much somebody didn't, for instance. So, things like that. So that's quite interesting. I quite love the concept, actually.
Thank you. I mean, I personally use the app that a lot. So I'm doing what you call it in technology word is like eat your own dog food.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my wife and my friends, we use this app a lot. And actually, I have discovered a lot of good shows, the new ones, and even some hidden gems, which was there and I never watched it because of this app now. So, like, unfortunate part of the entrepreneurship stuff is now I don't have time to watch all of those things. So I'm being very selective of what I watch,
Right.
and because I don't have that much time. And that's where Flix actually really makes much more sense. Like even if you have a lot of time to watch, then Flix makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have time to watch, like if you just have half an hour or an hour a day, that's when Flix makes a lot more sense. That don't waste your time, watch only the absolute best. Because if you look at all the content across the world on streaming platforms,
Mm-hmm.
there's enough out there. There's enough out there. So why to waste watching something mediocre or something which is not that great?
True. Having this conversation, I feel I should also start a podcast on what to watch and what not to watch, and maybe then Flix will help me on that front. Well, this entire time, it has obviously been very hard also for leaders to cope. So naturally, Flix is a platform, and it really helps people to connect or understand what they would like to see or consume and discuss or have conversation about it. But as a leader to cope during these times, was there a moment when you kind of rethought the whole business strategy or proposition, and how did the organization respond to the current crisis?
I think we all saw the opportunity and we all agreed upon it that this is the best time
Mm-hmm.
for Flex. So, I mean, if you look at it, like people are locked inside the home, they were cut off from everything.
Mm-hmm.
They're not meeting any friends. They have ample time in their hand now. The biggest thing what has happened in last few months is people are streaming lot more content than they used to be. And if you look at the global traffic, it's like approximately 30 to 40% more traffic just because of people streaming content now throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
So even when the pandemic started, I remember like India, a lot of countries in Europe and US also, I think they actually requested Netflix and Amazon to actually downgrade their uh, show to standard definition instead of HD so that they can save the internet, so that people can work from home without having internet issues.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
that's where we were like, okay, this is the best time, even though, and you can see like I have seen in my career that a lot of great companies have actually been founded in when the times are bad.
Right.
Uh, and that's where I think we are into that position where times are not good, but the opportunity is big enough. People are getting every business is getting digital, and now media and internet entertainment is getting digital. So, and this is the thing which would have taken next 5 to 10 years. The pandemic has forced people and the businesses to accelerate their technology adoption.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Next 5 year has been done in past 5 months, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And companies which have adopted technology, they are thriving right now.
Hmm. No, that completely makes sense because this was the future in any case, work from home or technology playing such an important aspect or part in whatever we do. So naturally, there is this
Yeah, yeah,
tangibility which everybody's missing at this point in time. But nonetheless, we've learned how to work with a lot of technology and the virtual reality, so to say, in many ways. And that's pretty cool because that is the future, right?
yeah. That's where the world is going towards. Actually, everything is going to be kind of digital and virtual.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate.
Unfortunate.
I like, yeah, I still like actually going out and meeting people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope like things gets better out there. People, I mean, more people streaming is actually helping my business, but I still want people to actually go out, have physical connections, go out to theater, watch movies there because nothing beats that.
Hmm.
Uh, I mean, I think there's certain kind of movies or shows. I mean, there's no shows in theater, but movies you definitely want to watch on big screen, like for example, Wonder Woman or Marvel series or even James Bond movies. I
Right.
mean, the home theater is not going to do that justice.
Yeah, just that feeling, right? That
Yeah,
surround sound and just being that experience. I think it's the entire experience that counts. And maybe people have started to lack that experience. So, yeah, once in a while, maybe that would be nice as well, isn't it?
yeah. And you're forgetting those expensive popcorns and sodas.
Yeah, well, those are very controversial topics because, we're trying to figure out whether that's really supposed to. I mean, can we take our own food anymore or not? So I think, every government has their own little thing going on about it. New laws
Oh
and
yeah,
policies.
I'm going to see about that.
Yeah. But what is the future plan for Flix? How do you see Flix growing in the market?
Future plan for Flex is like I want to focus on what people are going to like on this app,
Mm-hmm.
make it easy for people to actually have conversation.
Mm-hmm.
In a short period of time, what has happened, like people have started because Flix has like following kind of model, like something similar to what you have on Instagram or Twitter.
Right.
So somewhat similar to that, uh, that you can follow people based on what they're recommending shows and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And in the short period of time, I have seen that, like I personally have almost like 900 followers on Flex. My wife has like 1,200 followers. One of my co-founder has almost similar thousand plus followers.
Mm-hmm.
Another person I know, she has like 2,000 plus followers. And in a short period of time, we realized that this is what we actually wanted, that people are following each other. And I personally have almost like 400 or close to 500 followers on Instagram, but on Flix I have like almost 900 followers. So I didn't expect it in the short period of like last 4 or 5 months that I will have these many followers on Flix. So that propelled the idea that we are on the right track, and Flix can become a new kind of a social network where there would be influencers. Initially, I was thinking there would be influencers coming from Instagram or Snapchat or something,
Mm-hmm.
but I think they can create their own set of influencers, and these guys will become these people will become the new age movie critics, I would say.
Right.
And we are going to disrupt that market also, where people from small towns or big towns, regardless where you are, and if you are a big fan of a particular show or movie, you can add a review and you can actually create some stories around it, and people will start following you just based on that. And I hope in next 5 years we will create another set of 1,000, 10,000 influencers around the world, which people will follow to know what next show they should be watching, apart from their friends and family.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. There's something else that I've got to know about you. Let's say
Mhm.
little birdie told me, if I may. One, that you also have your own podcast. Am I right?
Yeah, I do have a podcast, and that was part of the pandemic stuff. Like when I was at home, I was focusing full time on Flex, and I always wanted to talk about technology stuff,
I
share my experiences about what my views are on particular companies, particular technology, and I wanted to not keep it too techy also, that only engineers can understand what I'm talking about. I wanted to make sure that larger audience can understand. I can take, if need be, I can take a deep dive inside a company and their strategy,
Mm-hmm.
and people know what has happened. So,
Mm-hmm.
like the last podcast we did was for we covered like the Zoom app, the video conferencing stuff, and I walked through the whole a lot of people said that it was an overnight success, and then I started telling people that okay, it was not actually. They launched in 2012, and these were their struggle, and they have struggled for so many years, and yes, pandemic helped them a lot, but they were at the right time at the right position, but it was not an overnight success. So a lot of there's a certain myths I want to bust also on that, uh, like right now I'm reading story about TikTok, like what TikTok did and why TikTok became such a global phenomenon.
Right.
I mean, it got banned in India, but and I'm hosting one of the author of a book called Attention Factory. If you, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's available on Amazon or Kindle,
Mm-hmm.
and the author of that guy is actually joining us on the next podcast.
Oh, that's
And
interesting.
these are the kind of things I want to focus on, especially on the entrepreneurship side
Mm-hmm.
and on the technology side. Like this is what's happening in the world.
So, what is your podcast called, Shashank? And where can, even our listeners, my listeners of the Empowering series listen to it?
That would be awesome, actually. My podcast is called Tech LGTM,
Mm-hmm.
and I will tell you why I named it like that. Tech, obviously, you know why it's
Of course.
tech. LGTM is it's a code we use for when we are doing code reviews in technology. So if I write a code, I get peer review, like okay, review my code because I might do some mistakes there. So if everything looks fine, then generally we used to use the term LGTM. That looks good to me. That means I've approved the code, and you can go ahead and push it into production and release that code. So that's why I was like, technology looks good to me, and short tech LGTM.
Mm-hmm. Sounds quite fascinating the way you kind of put it all together and made your little name. I like it. And where can they all listen to it? I mean, where all find
Yeah, it's available on Apple Podcasts. It's available on Spotify
it? Mm-hmm.
and Google Podcasts. Almost like 8 or 9 places where you can find it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have the site techlgtm.com. It will take you to that.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And like I said, that's one thing. The other thing is that you yourself quite enjoy watching movies and listening to music. So you tell us if you have any recommendations for us at this point in time.
I have quite a few actually. Like for that, you will have to follow me on Flex. I'm not going to give away that recommendation because if you want to know my recommendation,
Then
follow
we
me on.
have to go there. That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So I'll just tell everybody to start downloading the app, right? And
Yeah.
maybe then you can get Shashank's recommendations. But maybe
Yeah.
just one Shashank, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like later, I can kind of give out in this. Like, I really loved Mirzapur too.
Mm-hmm,
I'm a big fan of Pankaj Tripathi,
mm-hmm.
uh, and even what's that guy's name? Devyendu.
Divyendu Sharma, I
Yeah.
think, yeah.
Oh yeah, man, that
No,
guy actually
I think he was.
season two he killed it actually.
He did.
So
I think he took the whole season ahead. Honestly,
yeah,
it was on his shoulders more or less.
yeah.
Mm.
What I was saying to my friends was like season one was all about Ali Zafar,
Yeah,
uh,
Ali
Gudu,
Fazal.
and Fazal. Yeah, sorry, my bad. And season two is exactly taken over by season one belonged to Gudu, season two belongs to Munna.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we're coming towards the end of this conversation, Shashank, but couple of things before you go. If you can tell us, possibly a belief that you swear by, something that you totally believe in, or, a
Yeah.
thought, value, a belief, anything.
So I'm in very much aligned to your podcast name, Empowering Series. Like what I personally believe in, and that's how you grow, is by empowering others. So how you empower yourself
Mm-hmm.
is by empowering others. That's what my uh, motto has been in life. That I mean, you can never grow just by growing yourself. Like the way you grow is that you uplift people around yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and that is going to automatically uplift you also, because like if people around you are growing, they will pull you along with you. So that's the best way to grow. So even in the company, even in the FLYX, what I'm telling people is that share knowledge, be a mentor. You know something, learn from other people, regardless. Like I have 20 years of experience. As I said, I still feel like I've started my career. I'm learning from people who have probably they just graduated out of the college and have to join FLYX and they're helping me. I'm learning from them. I'm learning from people who have 5 to 10 years of experience. It doesn't matter actually. Like everyone comes with a new kind of their own perspective actually. So and there's a lot of things you can learn from that, and that's how I have grown. And yeah.
Fantastic. And how about some, let's say, words of wisdom to young entrepreneurs, startups out there? And also, I'd say, for people with those dreams and hopes of settling in the US or other countries, and kids leaving uh,
Yeah.
their homes and leaving their nest and going off to university, trying to make it big somewhere. So, some words of wisdom for all these people, Shashank.
So yeah, one thing I would say is like you can actually achieve a lot. Just don't do everything by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to ask for help. Talk to your friends, family, colleagues, anyone, and talk about your ideas and ask for help actually. Because a lot of people actually think that I will go and do it all by myself. And sometimes you're smart enough, you have enough ideas, you think that you can pull it off, but it actually doesn't happen. So you have to ask for help.
Yes.
And that means like any vision you have and you want to execute on it, try to talk to people because that validates your idea.
Mm-hmm.
And also the core thing is actually not the idea. There's a misconception. A lot of, especially young people, actually they think like I have an awesome idea,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the best thing, and an idea is everything. No, I mean the idea is where it starts, and then what happens is that you have to create an awesome team around it. If you don't have an awesome team, what is going to happen is like your execution will be poor,
Mm-hmm.
and even a great idea with a poor execution, we all know what happens with that kind of stuff. And even if you have a mediocre idea and you have a great team and a great execution, that's when you can still make a good amount of business out of that, even with a mediocre idea if you have a great team around it.
Right. No, that's very important piece of advice. And lastly, Shashank, the signature question of our show. What empowers you?
Yeah, as I mentioned, like it's more about empowering others.
Mm-hmm.
I get empowered by when I see people who are working with me, and I'm giving my knowledge out to them. I automatically go for the mentorship where I'm actually mentoring them, sharing all my experiences. There's nothing like hiding or creating. A lot of people do that, like they don't want to share their knowledge, and that's where they create silos around themselves.
Hmm.
And that happens in companies also, where people are actually keeping the knowledge around themselves. They think that they would be safe in the company by keeping the knowledge. And I
Right.
think that's detrimental to their growth. Why? Because if you're not sharing knowledge, that means nobody else knows what you're doing
Hmm.
and you cannot be replaced. And now that's kind of a counterintuitive, like you cannot be replaced. Like who wants to replace your themselves in a company? And that's why tell them, if you cannot be replaced in a company, then you cannot grow in a company. Why? Because there's a new opportunity which is coming out. Imagine if, like, for example, I will give FLYX. Like I have a new opportunity coming out, and I have great people working for me, but nobody knows what they are doing. Then I have to go look outwards and find some resource who can work on the next great big ideas, because these guys who are actually working on the projects inside it, they have not shared their knowledge and nobody can replace them. So I
Right.
have to definitely go out there. So that's where sharing knowledge and replacing yourself is the key to succeed in any environment. And because you would be always be available for taking on to new, greater, challenging projects.
That's a very nice and refreshing perspective because a lot of people they don't want to perceive themselves as indispensable. So the fact that you're sharing this as the most empowering thing for you is wonderful. And on that note, Shashank, thank you so much for your valuable time, your wonderful insights, and all that you've shared with us on this show today. Thank you for being on the Empowering series with me today.
It was my pleasure. Actually, it was pretty amazing to talk and having this chat, and that I can share some. I hope this helps somebody to pursue some entrepreneurship or pursue some their passion, because that's what I have been doing, and I want more and more people to do something like that.
Wonderful.
If you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I wanted to kind of just give a quick reminder to everybody. As I mentioned up top, we are doing our annual listener survey right now. If you could please go and take a couple of minutes out of your day and fill it out, we would really, really appreciate it. It's ivmpodcast.com/survey. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, we'll enter you into a random drawing, and we're going to be sending out swag to a bunch of randomly selected listeners. So do definitely get on board that train. Let me tell you a little bit about what we did on the network this week. We launched a new show called Zindagi Diaries with Ragini Kumar. Many of you might have seen Ragini on television during the IPL. She's a presenter, but she's showing a different side of herself over here with a poetry podcast. Give it a shot, give it a listen. Let me know what you all think. Vishal Gondal is back this week after a while. He's been on an extended break, but he has Rahul Narvekar for the first episode. Really interesting conversation. Do check it out. Raji Samant joins Gauri Devidayal on This Round Is On Me. The two talk about the wine business and what's going on there. We had a number of conversations about the Farmers Bill and the surrounding agitation this week on the network as well. Maruk Inayat had a great episode on the note. Fulia Bazi did a deep dive into the issues around this. And on Siders, we have our typical, fun conversation about this stuff with a little bit of a seriousness, a little bit of fun. Do check that out on Cock and Bull on Thursday last week. Akash Mehta joined us for that episode. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
What are some of the radical changes that are now shaping our workspace? With physical distancing and heightened safety protocols being the norm, will technology finally make its large-scale entry to the workspace? Will design as we know it change for the long term? Is it possible for the Indian commercial real estate space to adopt a 360-degree approach to sustainability? Join our hosts at the Future of Space podcast by RMZ as we deliberate with industry leaders, analysts, and bright young minds on the way forward for the workspace given the new COVID normal. Tune in to the IVM Podcasts app or wherever you stream your favorite podcasts